Everything you believe about money today was planted in your head before you even knew how to spell your name. It has been quietly controlling your decisions for decades. It's been telling you what's safe, what's smart, and what's possible. The rules around money were designed for a world that no longer exists. We are not living in that world today, but yet our mindset and the way we make decisions about money are still decades old. If you keep following those old sets of ideas, you will get left behind. And I'm not going to let that happen to you. So, in this episode, we are talking about money. We're going to talk about the anxiety around money, managing money, and where all these ideas we learned about money come from. They are generations old. And I want to help you to shift your mindset when it has to do with money and the world and the economy that we are living in today, and how to thrive over the next 2, 5, and 10 years. This isn't about working harder for your money. It's simply about thinking differently about money. I've had to do it over the years. I've had to shift. I've had to reconfigure these myths and ideas that I was raised with so that I can be more prosperous, more successful, and achieve that life that I have been striving for. But now it's all within reach. Welcome back, everyone, to a Mindset Medicine podcast. I am your host, Catherine Lucadu. We are always about shifting mindsets. That's what this is about. Because when we are in such an evolving landscape like we are today, you know that I've done episodes on AI. I've done episodes with my coaching clone. I have done episodes on the way that we need to think about what we want out of our future. We're just going to continue that conversation on a topic I've never really spoken about, which is money. Here's where I'd like to start. We're going to go through the evolution of why we have this default thinking about money. Where did it come from? Why does it even exist? Where did their default thinking come from? Our parents, our grandparents? And then once we understand where that thinking came from, we can evolve into, okay, if that's how it was then, we look at today's landscape and move forward with a new, upgraded way of thinking about money. So, your beliefs about money started with the economy, the culture, and the environment that your parents and grandparents were living in. We're going to walk through how the conditions that they were living in created the rules that you've actually been following today and why they no longer work. 1950s to 1970s, jobs were stable. The median U.S. household income doubled between 1950 and 1970. Savings rates averaged 12 to 15%, and banks paid 7 to 8% interest on your savings. In 1950 to 1970, inflation was around 3 to 4%. So what did that mean for that generation? It meant that you could actually grow your money by 3 to 5% per year doing nothing but having savings in your bank account. So today in Canada, the average savings account pays 0.8%. In the US, it is 0.57%. Inflation in July 2025 was 3.1% in Canada, 3.3% in the Eurozone. I want everyone listening, if you are a global audience, which I know you are, we're now in 70 countries. I want to be sure that you're not left out when we talk about these statistics. Every $10,000 left in a standard bank account today is losing $230 to $250 a year in purchasing power. Think about that for a minute. Calculate that over the number of years that you have ahead of you. Let's move on to the 80s and 90s now. In the early 1980s, inflation hit 13.5%. Interest rates spiked 15 to 18%. At one period in time, I believe it was between 1987 and 88, they peaked at 23% interest. Savers were able to lock in double-digit returns. However, mortgage rates were creating foreclosures on houses because, for the same reason, people could not afford those rates. Interestingly, it was between the 80s and 90s that credit card ownership surged from 16% of households to 50%. The Dow Jones climbed from 800 in 1982 to over 11,000 in 1999. Today, as a comparison, the average credit card is over 21% in interest. Consumer debt is at record highs, and most people's investments have been volatile for at least 2 years straight in the stock market. 2000s to 2010. There was a housing bubble, as we all remember. 2008 is that number. The late 2007, early 2008. This year is imprinted in most people's minds. The U.S. median home prices rose 124%, then crashed 33%. Pensions dropped from 60% coverage in 1980 to only 15% by 2010. Savings rates collapsed below 1% after 2008, and unfortunately, we are still there. 0.8, 0.57, that's where we sit now between Canada and the US. So, today in Canada, the average home price is 8 times the median household income. Think about that. 8 times the median household income. In much of Europe, property prices have outpaced wages by 30 to 50% in the last decade. Let's move to the last 5 years, 2020 to 2025. We have had one of the biggest shifts in our economy, in our environment, post-COVID. So we had 2020 was when COVID was spreading, and then we had the post-COVID period, and it's like we're still in the post-COVID period right now. So April 2020, 22 million U.S. jobs were lost in a single month. June 2022, inflation soared to 9.1% in the U.S., a 40-year high. AI adoption predicts that AI will add 15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030. We are literally in the midst of this right now. Many people believe that AI came in at the end of 2023, which is when everyone started hearing about ChatGPT. Actually, AI has been around a long time, since 1958 when it was first discovered, and it has been evolving. The tech companies right now who were actively involved in AI started much before 2020. It just came to light on a massive scale at the end of 2023 when ChatGPT unveiled their platform. Even with inflation easing slightly, groceries in Canada are up 21% since 2021, and in parts of Europe, energy costs have doubled since 2020. The reason I give you this history is to understand the mindset that our parents and grandparents had, how they have evolved through that time frame. You will see since the 90s, it has been a tough road. And for people who have been in their prime working years and prime saving years, you can see that your savings will never amount to what your parents' and grandparents' savings amounted to. I have a great aunt who bought her home in Toronto in 1962 or 1963. She bought her home for $15,000 and she paid off her home in 4 years. She and her husband, my uncle, were working full time and had a gentleman who rented the basement of their bungalow. That's it. And they paid off their home in 4 years. The reason for this is because the savings they were able to accumulate while working and paying their mortgage and bills was at a degree so much higher than where we are today. Housing prices have increased 8 times the median household income. How does one even save when the mortgage being paid and the affordability for a property is so high? These are the topics I'm going to tackle today because there is a way around it, and I want to give you some strategies. Does all of this make you a little bit anxious, maybe angry and frustrated? I hear you because I have felt the same way. I have wanted to do an episode on money for a long, long time, but I wasn't quite sure how to do it so that it would be most helpful to you. But today I figured out the way. So let's go through the different myths, shall we? Myth number 1. You can save your way to wealth. This is a myth. 1975, 7.5 savings interest rate. 4% inflation equals a net gain for the people who had savings in the bank in 1975. Today, at 0.8% savings rate and 3% inflation equals a net loss. Safety does not equal growth anymore. Savings does not equal wealth anymore. Growth requires multiplying your money. And the way that you multiply your money these days is there are a variety of ways, but it needs to exponentially grow in order to come out successful the other end. Let's go on to myth number 2, and then I'm going to provide you the strategies. Myth number 2, debt is always dangerous. Consumer debt with no return on investment is dangerous. But 85% of high growth companies use productive debt to scale. So what does that mean? It means that certain debt that can be cheaper than holding cash. When the mortgage rates went extremely low, and I know for myself, I was able to get a mortgage 5 years ago at 0.85%. So sometimes there will be deals on financing a car. Now, I am not an accountant. I am not a financial advisor. What I can give you is my experience based upon research that I have done over many years. There are times when you can finance a car at 0.5% or 1%. I would rather finance my car at almost a free rate than hand over $65,000 or $70,000. It makes more sense at that point. So, this is what we're talking about. In today's inflationary environment, certain debt can be cheaper than holding cash is losing money due to inflation if it's just sitting in the bank making 0.8% interest. Because let's not forget, the bank also charges monthly charges. If you exceed the number of transactions, then you get charged on those, and so on. Myth number 3, work more hours to earn more money. Productivity actually plateaus once you've hit 50 hours a week. Today's top earners use leverage, scalable offers in their business, digital assets, and investments. If you are in a highly income taxed country like Canada, the more you earn, the higher the tax bracket that you rise to. So if you are making over $250,000 a year, almost 50% of that is going to be taxed. So if you do the math, half of all of the hours that you have worked is all going to pay the government in taxes. That is why when we think about the way that we work today, we may need to shift that mindset of the stable job, the 9 to 5, the 40 hours a week. Maybe there is a better alternative in the direction that we are going in this new AI-driven world. We know that many jobs will become redundant because AI will be able to do those manual tasks. They will be able to do a lot of bookkeeping tasks. They're even giving medical advice now, right? So there are so many different ways that this is going to change over time. So let's talk about the money mindset today in 2025. I think this is important. What does it look like? And how important is it for us to get on board with this money mindset? So, preservation worked when savings beat inflation, right? It made sense to have our money just sitting in the bank account. Remember the little savings book that you had? Maybe as a child, maybe as a teenager, and you would go and you would give them the booklet and they would update when you made your deposit. It made sense then. However, when inflation is higher than the rate provided for your savings account, it no longer makes sense. Today, preservation, savings, without creation of something new will equal shrinking wealth. In order to save, you must always be creating and growing. That is what leads to wealth. So once you have your essentials and your emergency fund or cushion covered, everything else should be invested and not just sitting. You decide whether it is a 3-month emergency fund that you want to have as savings. Is it a 6-month emergency fund? Is it a year? Anything over that should be put into investment, making money for you at an exponential higher rate than it is being made while sitting in your bank account. Many people have a fear of loss, and a fear of loss and taking a calculated risk are typically at odds with each other, right? It's a versus fear of loss versus calculated risk. Avoiding all risk in 2025 is the biggest risk you may take. Because when you stay stable and do nothing, that in itself is a problem. In order to create more wealth, there needs to be a step forward that you're making. What is it that you're creating that's new? The way that you quantify your risk these days is with data. You have to run the numbers, and I can't tell you the number of times when I have presented an opportunity to someone, presented a coaching offer to someone, even in real estate. When someone is negotiating on a property and they say, well, if I don't get it for this price, I don't want it. There are many times I have to explain to someone that an extra $10,000 on this property doesn't make sense to you. However, what if this property increases in its value as has been seen over the last decade in real estate? If this property increases by 20%, 15%, even 10%, you will have made back that $10,000 tenfold. So the 10,000 that you're so worried about losing now will actually be the best investment you could make over the next 5 years. This is what we're talking about, where we quantify the risk with data. You've got to run the numbers, and that's how you know when something makes sense. So, we're going to move to the next part, which is from a single income to diversifying into multiple income streams. What does that mean? It means just having that one 9 to 5 job is not going to be good enough if you wish to achieve wealth. You may say, but I'm tired, but I don't have time. I'm going to tell you right now, you do have time. We all have time. If we wanted to spend an extra 2 hours every evening starting on a new income stream, 2 hours every evening, 7 days a week is an extra 14 hours a week. That's a part-time job. It's 2 extra hours to provide you with additional income. What that means for you is additional safety net. It provides you the investment fund. If you were to take the income that you could possibly make in the 14 hours a week that you are working, which turns out to be 14, 28, 56 hours a month. 56 hours a month in income, if that were invested into some really smart stocks, could in itself provide you your nest egg at retirement. This is the way that I want you to start thinking about things, because right now, having a full-time job doesn't necessarily equal security. What if in the next year and a half, that job becomes redundant because of AI? Do you have something to fall back on, or were you falling back on your default thinking because of how you were raised when the interest rates were high for savings and the saving rates were high for your parents and grandparents? It's a different time now. We have to shift the way we think about creating wealth, a nest egg, and security for ourselves and our families. Even a small second income reduces dependency on that one full-time job that you are clinging to. Another strategy is have a money meeting, either with yourself, your partner, your family, 20 minutes a week to review your income, your expenses. Do you have a fund, a fun fund? Is there a fund for travel? Is there a fund for maybe the extra thing that you need to have? Maybe you need to replace windows or a roof. Unexpected expenses. Do you have a fund for those? When you start looking at your income head on with the most transparency and really beginning to understand that your money could, in fact, be working for you and not just sitting, actually losing money per year, that's when this little light bulb goes off and you think, this is fascinating. How can we insert AI into your money strategy? Right now is the time to start using AI to start creating a money strategy if you've never had one. I started using AI for stocks about 6 months ago, and I am shocked at how much I have grown my stock portfolio, how well it's doing, how diverse it is with the help of AI, because I have AI doing my research for me. It researches the economy, both locally and globally. I ask it to research the most upcoming companies, trends. I ask it to look for the positive and the negative. I ask it to look for low risk and high risk. Once it is done, I have it come back and suggest 3 stocks that I could invest a low amount of money in just to test the waters. You never start with large amounts. You could even start with $100, but you put 35, 35, and 30. It's an amount of money that you're okay if nothing happens with it. It's not enough that it will make a huge difference to your lifestyle. What I think you're going to find is that it actually grows week over week. And that is your indication that this may be one of my first smart ways of creating a small investment fund for myself and my family. So, how do we scan for opportunity in 2025? Number one, monitor the market trends and the competitor shifts in real time. That's what I was just telling you. Right now, with ChatGPT 5, it can scan the market. I want you to remember the most important aspect when working with AI is how good the request that you make is. The more foundation about you that you can give it, the better it will perform for you. And I know this because I helped train ChatGPT. So when I tell you that if you could spend 5 minutes creating this request, tell the AI who you are, what you do, what your situation is right now, what your financial investment is. Maybe you only have this amount of money that you might possibly be able to invest somewhere that's safe. You can tell it whether your risk tolerance is low, medium, or high. Any other information you could give it so it has context. Imagine that you have a financial advisor sitting right in front of you. They would be asking you questions about your income, about your savings, about your lifestyle. You want to do the same thing. It can provide you, after asking it to do the research on the markets, both local and global. The reason I'd like you to search both is because global impacts of the economy affect our local economies. Right now in Canada, we are greatly affected by what is happening in the US. Europe is greatly affected by what is happening in the US, as are most countries around the world. So it's always important to be very cognizant of what's happening in the world around us. Number two, optimizing your revenue. AI can also find you options for additional income by telling it what you do, your job, your interests, your skills, your strengths, your weaknesses. If you input all of that, it could provide you suggestions to create that additional income you've been searching for. You don't have to sit back passively worried about the economy. You can become active and help reclaim your confidence around your money, your savings, and your ability to achieve wealth no matter where you are in life right now. Using AI to automate your time during the day, manual tasks being removed, and using that time to do other things could be one of the best skills that you learn today. Because every time you save money here, you could be using that creatively to make money over here. So here is the strategic 5 framework. Number 1, what is your burn rate at home? It means what is your monthly cost to live and to run your business? If you're an entrepreneur, what is your burn rate? Ask AI to track and flag unusual increases, which means if you have a bookkeeping platform, take screenshots, save them. You can upload that into AI and have it analyze, look for things that you may not use. Ask AI to clarify some of the recurring expenses it seems to find. Number 2, what is your runway? How many months can you survive without new income? If your job, your business became redundant 6 months from now, maybe you're in real estate, nothing is selling right now. It's a buyer's market. The economy is affecting real estate. How many months can you survive without having a new deal come in? If you're a business owner, how many months can you survive making payroll before it starts coming out of your other savings accounts? Or maybe there is no backup account and all of a sudden you can't afford to pay your employees. What does that look like? Ask AI to create models for you to change the way you have been financially handling your business or your household. It can instantly find the areas for cost savings. Maybe that means uploading your grocery list every week and asking it to help you pare that down. Maybe it's making more affordable meals every week. There are always ways that you can be using AI in a smart way, not only to stop bleeding money, but to start creating money. There are businesses out there that if you were to look at your profit and loss statement, at the bookkeeping sheet of all the expenses coming out of your credit card every month, subscriptions, items that weren't needed. Did you buy so much stationery that if you look over on your desk, you can just see it sitting there? That is money wasted. These little things that we can do actually put money back into our account, not for savings, but that can be used to generate new money elsewhere. My goal here for you is not to hold back the money that you're saving that AI is finding for you. It's to use AI to then show you where to invest it so you can exponentially grow it 4, 5, 10 times what it is that you're saving. A revenue driver. So if you are a coach or a consultant, what is your most profitable offer out there? And ask AI to analyze it. Is there a way to make it even better? Is there something missing? Is there a gap within it that it could actually become even more scalable for you? Same thing with your business. Your business, you may believe, is running beautifully right now, like an engine. It's just going smoothly. But what if you could actually take it up a notch? Wouldn't you want to know that? And finally, the fifth one is the growth vehicle. So, how are you going to compound this asset into something that will become long term wealth? Let me take you back to that real estate example, right? That additional $10,000 that you don't want to pay for that property because you don't want to give them the satisfaction of giving them the extra 10,000 to the seller. But what I'm saying is that extra 10,000 in 5 years from now could have equaled $50,000 because the property increased so exponentially. I want you to start thinking of things in that term. Yes, it's going to hurt a little bit to pay that extra, but if I calculate this into 5 years from now, does it make sense? Using AI to help you project current income, current savings over future years is the most mind-blowing aspect of AI. Use it not just to give you little facts like a Google search, use it to truly shift your life and business from money anxiety to money strategy. That's what this is about. Once a week, ask AI strategically. And this is what I do. I just did it today. I asked it to do a search of local and global trending economies right now. What's happening? What are the up and coming AI companies? Where are investments being pushed toward right now? Then I asked it to suggest some stocks that were of low amounts of money that I could get in at the bottom and watch grow. This is how I use AI. I want AI to make me wealthy, but I want to do it in a strategic, responsible way that has been researched, and I can see the research in front of me when it pulls up all of its answers. Now, once again, I am not a financial advisor. I am not a professional stock trader. I am not a doctor or lawyer. What I am telling you is what I do in my personal life and how I use AI and how phenomenal it has been in shifting the way that I perceive money. Because I grew up with parents and grandparents who were from the eras where money was made and savings were made. That's what we did with our money. But we're no longer in that decade anymore. So we have to adapt to the year we are living in right now. Rather than save, we want to multiply our money. But we have to proactively do this. Your money story doesn't have to match the one that you have inherited. You can replace your fear with facts, your myths about money with strategies, and your hesitation about spending money on something new that might feel a little risky with action. When I said that you could just take a little bit of money, even $25, $50, and put it onto a low price stock that AI suggests for you after having done research, and just watch what happens. If you don't move into action, you'll never know. And I don't want you to be left behind. If you only save, you will only protect what you have now. But if you can create strategically, you can expand what's possible for your future. We don't want to stay stagnant. The goal is growth. And it's growth. When we talk about wealth, my idea of wealth isn't just in money terms. What about freedom? The ability to travel or live anywhere that you want to live or how you want to live? What about what you want to provide your kids? What that lifestyle, or maybe it's the level of education you would like to offer them. Being able to multiply your money will help them achieve their goals of the future. So, here are some of the items I want to leave you with today. Number one, we want you to identify your biggest inherited money myth. And I want you to rewrite it for 2025. What is that biggest idea that you have about money? And I'd like you to shift it. If you are willing to share it, comment below what that one myth is that you've got, or share it on social media and tag me. And let me know how you're going to shift that idea, that perspective. If this episode has given you some clarity, if it has helped you to find and think about tools that you can use moving forward that will help you thrive in the future of this AI-driven world, I would love to hear about it. I would love if you would share this with someone who may need to hear about this. I hope that I have offered you something to think about. That's why this is called Mindset Medicine. A little medicine to shift your mindset. I am not a professional in money, but I have been experienced with money. I have run businesses in Canada and in Europe. I have led tens of hundreds of people. I have sold over 100 million in real estate. I have coached hundreds of people in business and communication. So I have experience with money. And these are the conclusions that I have come to. I look forward to seeing you again next week on our next episode. Bye for now.